Hi everyone, Isaac here, and you're watching The Orthodox Lunatic. So this is the second of two videos that I'm putting up today, and mainly what I'm talking about today is I'm making one more video regarding Lazar Puhalo, and then this is going to be it. I don't believe that it is a subject that is worth harping on anymore. For those of you that remember, a while ago, I had a big conflict with Lazar Puhalo where I was emailing him to basically discuss the transgender issue and gender dysphoria from the perspective of somebody that has dealt with gender dysphoria for the vast majority of his life. And I wanted to, kind of probe him and figure out what some of his viewpoints were and that kind of thing. It wasn't my intentions were not malicious. It wasn't anything that I was trying to do to expose him or to criticize him. I saw him as a good video maker, content creator, a good writer, and I liked most of what he'd put out in the past, even though I didn't necessarily agree with all of it. I thought of him as a necessary voice for the more left-leaning side of the Orthodox religion. And so how I felt about him before this conflict interaction that I had with him and after the whole interaction and the whole conflict happened, I obviously don't feel too terribly positive about him anymore. He ended up telling me in the email thread, and I did make another video where I posted full screenshots of the whole conversation, that you can download and see the whole email thread where I think he really misperceived what I was going for. He saw my intentions as malicious, so he told me to kill myself. And whether he was being sarcastic or not really doesn't matter to me, because what he said was inappropriate. Whether or not he was being sarcastic, it was still inappropriate. It was not good. That resulted in me contacting of course, the Archbishop of the OCA, and I ended up speaking with the Chancellor for the bishop, and I forwarded everything on to him, and he agreed that he was way out of line and he should not have said what he said, and he ended up posting an apology on his Facebook page, for those of you who remember, where he changed the name from Isaac to Ian. And then I was already blocked on Facebook, so there was no way that I could see this apart from somebody forwarding it on to me, which is exactly what happened. And then he kind of went off the grid for a week. His YouTube and Facebook activity just ceased. His Facebook was actually down. He deactivated it for about a week, and his YouTube posting stopped for about a week when all this went down. And I don't think that Lazar Puhalo is an all-bad person, but there are some things that people need to consider about him, because that whole situation, sort of a scandal, sort of an issue within the church. It brought a lot of people that came out of the woodwork, both to say that they felt that I had properly confronted Lazar Puhalo and I had properly exposed his inappropriate behavior, and there are other people who were critical of my analysis of the situation that said that I had malicious intentions, or I had some type of double intention, when I really did not. I was genuinely trying to have a genuine conversation with him, and I got back all these messages that were very bizarre and very angry and sounded quite hateful, when nothing I sent him was intended to trigger any kinds of emotions like that. But here's the whole thing about Lazar Puhalo that is troubling to me. He has been on the radar for being kind of a provocateur and really just strange for a long time. He's been on the radar for bizarre behavior for longer than I've been alive, because I was born in 1997, so he has been on the radar since before I was born for just being really odd. And I spoke recently with Father John Whiteford, and one of the things we actually talked about was Lazar Puhalo. He said that Lazar Puhalo's sort of mischief goes back a long time. And he referenced a book by Seraphim Rose, where at the end of the book, he actually had some type of section that was dedicated to refuting some claims or throwing some type of criticism towards the views of Lazar Puhalo. and that I thought was interesting. But he said, obviously this was a book that was probably made in the 90s, since Seraphim Rose died in the 90s, or the early 2000s, somewhere along there. And he told me that he's been on the radar, that he's said many very bizarre things to many people. And this is something that I started to ask, I guess you call them titans within the Orthodox community online, and ask people that had been in the Orthodox communities online for a long time. And most people, or many people, were able to give examples of instances where there was some type of normal conversation, and then Lazar Puhalo went into a really weird rant where he just said some really bizarre stuff. Like, you look at some of what he's written and some of what he has made, and it's undeniably brilliant and well put together. And I'm not going to deny that in any way, that some of the content that he has made and written has been very good, very informative, very understanding, and at the end of the day, very brilliantly put together material. And I'm not going to lie about that. But that is the thing that is confusing to so many people about him, is that on one end, he will put together something that's really awesome, that's really good, that benefits the people who watch it or read it. And then on the other end, he will go off and talk about bizarre stuff and obscure topics that don't make any sense, and he'll attack people and be very, very inflammatory, I guess is the word you can use to describe it. And this seems to me like it might be some kind of mental health issue, like it might be a bipolar disorder type of behavior, because there are a lot of bipolar people, myself included, that when we tend to go into some kind of episode, there's a lot of lashing out involved. Or something like borderline personality disorder, where the person might be really cool, they have a lot of really cool things that they do, but then they just have really weird behavior. And most of the weird and bizarre behavior that people have brought to my attention have been the kind of things where he will lash out at somebody or multiple people, or he will be very, very critical of a concept or a group of people or an individual person, and he will be saying stuff where he just really goes off the rails, like goes off the rails on a crazy train. He will be just in fantasy land. And I've seen, I don't really care to regurgitate everything that I've seen, everything that people have sent me regarding him, because I feel like that I have obviously exposed some of what he's done to me enough. I don't really want to put more dirt about him out there. I don't think it's necessary at this point. The issue that I had with him is over and done. He went his way, I went my way, and there's been no contact whatsoever since then. But the whole problem that people have pointed out is that he just goes into la land with some of the stuff when he gets mad or becomes critical or lashes out at people, and just says stuff that makes no sense whatsoever, that leave you thinking, huh? What? A human wrote this? Was this guy high? Was this guy on crack? That's how people describe it. That's some of the stuff that he says to people, and some of the things that he posts. People are just like, what? This guy belongs in the nut house. That's how a lot of people feel. And that is why I am wary about him, why I am hesitant to direct people towards his content and direct people to have any kind of dialogue with him, because of how people feel, how volatile he can be. And that's something that's important. He is definitely volatile, can go off on anybody in the most bizarre way possible, and it's bothersome to me. And that's not necessarily me criticizing him as a person. It could be a mental health issue, it could be something else going on that I don't know about. I think that everyone that enters the priesthood or a clerical position, I feel like most of them honestly mean well, and I know that he's made a lot of things for a lot of people that have benefited a lot of people, and I think that I should give credit where credit is due, but I also think it's important to recognize the negative sides to something and be wary of them. So that's really my final thought about Lazar Puhalo. I don't want to make another video dedicated to Lazar Puhalo ever again, even though I receive continual criticism for misrepresenting what he said or something along those lines. I just want this topic to be done, and I want this video to put everything to rest, and I just want this to be the end of it, because people still continue to contact me and ask questions about him from time to time. So I hope everybody has a good day, and good evening, good weekend, whenever, wherever you are. Could be watching this video at any time of day, any part of the earth. So I guess I should have some kind of outro for everyone that watches my videos. Anyway, have a good one.